Thank you. I'd like to call to order the December 9th, 2008 meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency. May we have the roll call, please?
Agency members Draymond.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Yusefian.
Here.
Chairman Najarian.
Here. May we have your report?
The agenda for the December 9, 2008 regular meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, December 4, 2008 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
There's no objections. The minutes will be approved as submitted. Next item, please.
5 is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the redevelopment agency may question and respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the executive director for investigation and report.
Thank you. I have a card from Herbert Milano.
Good afternoon, members of the Redevelopment Agency and city staff. My name is Herbert Milano. Last week, during one of the agenda items, I came before you to express an opinion with regard to the impropriety that I felt as it regards a facade improvement that occurred at the Glendale Royal Palace, and in the links that I expressed with regard to Councilman Weaver and his relationship with him. After the discussion was over and Mr. Weaver requested that it be closed for open communications, he in turn decided to berate me and, in a couple of words, call me a communist. Well, in as much as I've had 3 businesses and for many years I was a libertarian, that's about as far from being a communist as you can get anyone. I am a believer in small government and effective government, but I'm a Democrat because I believe that there's a role to play for government where the gaps exist in trying to maintain and improve our quality of life. So nonetheless, I decided to do a double check again with regard to Mr. Weaver's conflict of interest. And I see that on April the 17th, on 2005, there was a location fundraiser at the Royal Palace for a total amount of $2,700 in value. That's in addition to another amount that he had received earlier for a total of $9,400. So I can pass this along, to you so that you have a confirmation that Mr. Weaver did receive $9,400, which makes the Royal Palace one of his top 10 contributors. I also have a California Public Records Act request. This one I made in May of this year. And in this particular request, this document shows an approval for a total of $42,500 for facade improvement, which happened a year and 1 month after the receipt of this money. Now, the law allowed it back then. My question is it moral and is it justified for us to see, a campaign contribution on one end and a facade improvement for $42,500 a year and 1 month later? The interesting thing about this thing is that we were having discussions during the downtown specific plan committee meetings with regard to how the facade should look. So here was a policy that went against those policies that were being discussed. But to my surprise, I even find out that even your own staff was making recommendations against it. Here's Ms. Bardlow saying, I have great difficulty recommending its approval, and gave a whole page of reasons why it should not be approved of design as presented. And even though there were changes made, another document here shows that this particular organization, the applicant submitted a revised set of plans with subtle modifications. However, none of the changes addressed the comments provided by staff. So the downtown specific plan says, don't do that because it does not follow the objectives that we have for the downtown specific plan. Your own employees are saying, this does not follow in this particular design, so they suggested not to approve it, but you approved it anyway. And you approved it anyway because campaign contributions influence. And I think that this is just one of the many, many instances where I have found this type of conflict of interest, and hopefully we'll have a little bit, see it less in the future. So So what I'm doing now is basically kind of like a poker play where somebody challenges you, and basically you match it, and then you raise it. And the way I'm going to raise it is by sending a complaint. This is the Institute of Urban Research and Development. They did an audit a couple of years ago, and this is the Office of the Inspector General. So what I'm going to do, Mr. Weaver, as a favor to you for your nasty comments last week, I will submit a complaint to the Inspector General with regard to the misuse and apparent misuse of the city's or HUD's funds with regard to projects like this. You know, I'm a very strong advocate of a government that is responsive to the needs of the community and that behaves and acts in the most ethical way so that you can maintain and retain our trust. Mr. Weaver, you've been a very significant disappointment. You know, we know that you lie very often, but, you know, we can't call you a liar in public because people don't like that. But maybe a pervasive prevaricator might be the best way of assigning you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have no other cards. Mr. Weaver?
Yeah, there we go again. Mr. Milano has called me corrupt, under the influence developers, everything under the sun with absolutely no proof. Yeah, you go ahead to the Inspector General and do that. You made it known in the past years, not lately, but in the past, your two favorite world leaders were Fidel Castro and Garcia Venezuela. You said it out of your mouth. As far as what I supposedly received, you know better than I. If you read it, I never received a penny cash from Royal Palace. It was in-kind contribution for the use of the facilities for a fundraiser by other people giving me money, not by the Royal Palace. Cash to me and in-kind are two different things. I don't know where you get the stuff that I'm corrupt. In your mind, I am, but you've accused me of everything under the sun with no proof. You sent it to the Inspector General. Let's see, that's over 3 years old now. You also sued the city and me for $1 million because I wouldn't let you counter me at oral communication when I had the perfect right to tell you your time was up. So you turn around and send a request for $1 million for you personally. And you didn't win on that one. You know, you're not going to quit. You want me out, well, I'm not going. And frankly, from what I hear from the public, they're sick and tired of hearing you in here. Oh, sick and tired, I shouldn't say that either. They're disappointed that you choose to show up every week and berate people with no evidence. You live in Tahunga. Why don't you try the LA City Council? And I have asked you about that. But you have an apartment here, so let's stick to Glendale, where it's much easier. You go to LA, you won't be able to get the councilmen to listen to you. No, they get up, they walk around the room, they read the newspaper. Here, we sit and we honestly listen to every person that gets up here and talk. You just love that capability to do that and get your 5 minutes here, 5 minutes at redevelopment, and here, then 5 minutes at the council meeting, and then you get up and talk on 2 or 3 items, so we have to listen to at least 20 minutes every single week. I guess you get kicks out of it. Maybe you're recognized on TV and people love it. Maybe you're right. Run for council. See how many votes you get this time. I just know the feedback I get, and it's positive. You file with the Inspector General, but there's nothing there. There's no corruption, no influence. As an elected representative, I have a right to try to help the people in this community. If you want to start trying to tie 2 different things together, make something out of it, be my guest. But frankly, to keep doing this year after year after year, I just don't understand what your motivation is, because I'm not going away. I don't, 12 years, and half of that time I've had to listen to you stand here and call me corrupt. I'm frankly very tired of it. But you're not going to quit, because you get your kicks. And now I've lost my temper. Wowee. Then you go to Barry Allen and tell him, print that. See, I got Dave to open up his mouth. Wowee. Everybody in the city's reacting. Papers are flooded. Just a second. All these papers are all flooded with all the commentaries agreeing with you. I don't see them. So sitting there with that smile on your face, oh boy, Dave did what I wanted. Okay. Last week you had the Pasadena Weekly guy in here. As soon as I spoke, he took his notes and he left out the door. I suppose I'll be in the Pasadena Weekly. Fine, go ahead. I don't care. But you're wasting your time in here. And I'm going to sit here and go through this little serenade every week. You've hit on me twice in 2 weeks now. So who are you trying to promote for council this time? Yourself or somebody else sitting up here? Don't think we don't know. Thank you.
For the record, I am not seeking the endorsement of Mr. Herbert Milano.
Well, he's at work.
Likewise, I don't believe Mr. Milano is endorsing me.
Let's move on to
You
the
better hope he's not.
next item, please.
At 6A is City Attorney regarding cancellation of redevelopment agency meetings for December 23 and 30, 2008, and rescheduling of the January 6, 2009 meeting. At 6A1 is motion canceling the December 23 and 30, 2008 meetings, and at 6A2 is motion rescheduling meeting date of January 6, 2009 to a special meeting on January 7, 2009.
Move 6A1 and 2.
Second.
Let's take roll call, please.
Agency members Draymond,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Here. Aye.
Yosefian,
Aye.
Chairman Najarian.
Yes. Next item, please.
At 6B is Director of Development Services regarding Alex Theater Quarterly Report for period ending September 30, 2008, and a change order for ongoing maintenance, repair, and restoration activities at the Alex Theater. At 6B1 is motion accepting the quarterly report prepared by Glendale Arts and ordering it filed with the Director of Development Services. At 6B is motion approving a change order for Facility Operations Plus in the amount not to exceed $15,000 for a total contract amount of $183,500.
We have cards.
I do not have any cards on this item. Mr. Weaver?
I'd like to move 6B, 1 and 2.
Second.
I have a question on 2.
Mr. Youssef?
The staff report basically says you're requesting $15,000, but the actual cost of doing the project is only $3,300. You want to keep the remainder in the account. Why not just come back when you need money for something else at that time? I mean, we had this issue in the past. If you remember where Jeannie was here, we went through a lengthy process of eliminating a lot of these accounts that had $5,000, $6,000, $20,000, $15,000. I mean, they were all over the place. And we systematically went around and eliminated all those accounts. And at the time, we basically said, if you need money, come to us. We don't have a problem. But to create all these accounts all over the place and have surplus funds here, surplus funds there, then it becomes kind of difficult for us when during the budgetary times we're looking at all these accounts with all this money and we have to keep track of all this stuff. So that's, I don't want to get back to what we tried to eliminate.
I will take the blame. I think the word is the fund. What we would do is attach it to the contract, so it would be in the contract. It's already existing in the Alex Theater fund, that project account.
Okay.
This would allow us to increase the size of that contract so that if we needed to use Facilities Management Plus again, we could use them with the funds that you have already appropriated for the Alex Theater. We could certainly leave the contract at this amount, and if we have the need again, we would come back each time. We could do that. We just put a little bit extra there in case there's a need for facilities
So
management.
you're not going to create another fund?
We would not create another. We're not asking you to appropriate additional funds.
It's fine.
Okay, any other questions on that? If not, let's take the...
Agency members Draymond,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Yosefian,
Aye.
Chairman Najarian.
Yes. 6C, please.
Director of Administrative Services, Finance, regarding annual financial report of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency for fiscal year ending June 30, 2008. At 6C1 is motion accepting the annual financial report.
Mr. Elliott?
Good afternoon. The issue before you today is acceptance of the redevelopment agency report. Pretty cut and dry. I would like to introduce the staff from McGladden & Pullen, who was our annual auditors, Rod Lamont and Peter George. Also like to recognize our staff, Lily Fang, Zinda Jimenez, and Shujin Lee, who have worked countless hours on this. With that, I'll have them come up if you want the specific information. I'll have them give you a slight overview of the report.
Any specific questions at this point, Mr. Resefa?
Yeah, I have some questions. I spent some time reading the report. Actually, I hate to say this, but it starts right on the front page. And you can see I have stuff underlined. The thing that I wanted to ask you is, I'll read this section under the introduction. It says, this report consists of management's representation concerning the finances of the agency. Consequently, management assumes full responsibility for completeness and reliability of the information presented in this report. Okay, so this is basically the auditor's disclaimer to an extent that all the information that is given to us for us to do this work is what management represented to us. So it's not their work. Because the cost of internal control should not outweigh their benefits, the agency's comprehensive framework of internal controls has been designed to provide reasonable rather than absolute assurances that the financial statements will be free from material misstatements. So just wanted to read that also, which basically says everything in here is not 100% based on what I'm reading. But then again, you don't want to spend gazillion dollars trying to make everything to the last penny.
Correct.
And it says GAAP requires the management provide a narrative introduction, overview, and analysis to complete the basic financial statements in the management discussion and analysis. I guess this is what we do every year on this thing? Okay.
Right.
The way this item on number 3, Roman numeral 3, was written, agency loans, as of June 30, 2008, the agency's outstanding loan total is $3,390,000. I think this is, as I read further, I gather that this is loan that the agency has given out, so they owe us money. Am I correct?
Correct.
Because when you read that, it didn't quite explain that until I looked at the part about how much we gave the district and we gave the money to the Embassy Suite, and I realized that it's
those loans.
We loaned money out.
Correct.
It's not that we owe that money; they actually owe us. Okay. Where would I? And let me see. And one other thing in here, the liabilities. We have a negative of $109 million, and our net asset increased by $4,360,000.
Correct.
But we sold. That's because we sold the land for $5,980,000. Why wouldn't both of those be the same?
Well, the net operating is what all that stuff goes into the pot. So, it's not. They're not absolute.
Okay, so they're not.
So the $109 million is basically the negative equity portion that's unrestricted, and that's very, very typical of redevelopment agencies.
Right. We actually have more. We owe more than
Correct.
we actually.
And you have to have the debt to get the increment.
Right. Right. Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just as a kind of a brief overview, it was mentioned the MD&A, and that's management's discussion and analysis. That's basically an executive summary of the report, and then goes into the detail throughout the report with the different schedules. So just a little bit of factoid there.
Okay, is there anything that you wanted to give us as an overview or
We could spend all day on it.
Yeah, I understand that.
If you have questions, and I can invite the auditors up if you have questions from them, and they're prepared to give an overview as well if you'd like.
And just for the record, what was the report of the auditor?
It was an unqualified opinion, which is what we're seeking, and that's the best you can have.
Okay. Let's go to the public. Mr. Elliott, if you don't go too far in case we have any questions that pop up.
Also have another question I'll ask later.
Herbert Milano.
Good afternoon, members of the Redevelopment Agency. My name is Herbert Milano. I haven't had an opportunity to look in depth at this particular CAFR for the Redevelopment Agency. But as I was studying last year's CAFR overall, I remember seeing a column where we have on the town center expenditures of around 15 million for the year ended. I can't recall if it was for this year ended or the year before. In my understanding of fund accounting, we generally try for any particular fund to identify what the revenues are and then what the expenditures are against it on a short-term basis within the next 12 months, and you come up with some kind of balance. And I was wondering, after all of this, about 3 years of work that was done on the financial justifications for the town center, for the Americana. I have those documents. I'll bring it this evening. There was an extensive audit that was made with regard to the projected revenues that were expected. It was quite extensive. And we paid consultants to be able to bring it. And I just wondered, how we can assess the overall year-to-date expenditures on the Americana or the town center project, and then the calendar or the fiscal year outcome of the streaming, the revenues or projected revenues and the expenditures. If I recall from the documents on that particular audit, we were not expected to make any type of income for 4 years. 4 years out, we will begin to finally receive the proceeds. The thing that always bothered me is that in all those calculations, we never did find or include the interest on the bonds that were issued to obtain that property. So maybe, the auditor can explain to me and the public, why it is that we don't get a sort of like a comprehensive report on that investment of $77 million. What was the overall investment? What were the inflows? What were the outflows? Where do we stand with that? Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa.
On page 4, it says the agency has a negative balance in unrestricted net assets, which is $109 million, due primarily to a significant amount, which is $88 million of it is in the bond indebtedness. Now, out of this $88 million, I'm assuming part of that is the Americana's bond. I have a breakdown of this bond.
Yeah, there's a schedule on page, shows all the debt. Page 26. And you'll see the 88 million towards the bottom, and that's the total of the outstanding at June 30th of all the bonds.
Mm-hmm. Page 26, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, these are the 2002 tax allocation bonds, 2003, 2002.
So the total bonds payable is $88,874,216.
I'll see it. Oh, yeah, it's on this side, that's right. Okay. So the 2003 bond allocation, the $49 million, is the $49 million the Americana one?
It is the bond that was issued for the Americana, yes.
So it's the $49 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Bear in mind that the bonds are issued by project area, not necessarily by something, a project with it.
I know, but we use most of this money for the
Correct.
Americana. And this bond was mostly going to be paid by the tax increments that is generated through the Americana and also some of the other areas?
No, actually through the entire project area. when we size the bond, they look at the tax increment flowing, the revenue flowing from the entire project area.
So the redevelopment agency's tax increment
That is correct,
is going to be paying for this.
for the central project area.
And when is this bond going to have to be retired by?
This bond, I believe, is retired in 2025, 2022,
2022.
2022.
August 2022.
Okay, so there is no general fund money going to pay for this. This is just tax increment money that is coming from the area, going back to retire this bond and also the one previous to that, which is $38 million. Do you remember what the $38 million was for 2002?
The $38 million, the 2002 was the bonds that we used primarily for the town center. The 2003 was a refunding of a 1993 issue that built the garage at the Galleria.
Okay, so that's the one that we refinanced it.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from my colleagues? Thank you, Mr. Elliott, for your work on this. And I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Item, we're on 6C1. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Agency members Draymond,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Yusefian,
Aye.
Chairman Najarian.
Yes. Next item, please.
Is there any agency member or staff comments?
Staff comments? None. We have no new business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
We are adjourned.